Dr. Lisa Martinez stared at her computer screen in the Lunar Observatory Station. The numbers made no sense. The moon was shaking, but not like it should. She had been studying moon rocks and moon movements for 10 years. She knew how the moon was supposed to act. This was wrong. "Computer, run the test again," she said to the machine. The same numbers came back. The moon was moving in ways that rocks and dirt should not move. It was moving like something was pushing from inside. Lisa looked out the window at Earth. The blue planet hung in the black sky like a jewel. She had been living on the moon for 2 years now. Most days, she loved her job. Today, she felt scared. Phone buzzed. It was her boss, Dr. Amy Clark, calling from the main Earth station. "Lisa, are you seeing these readings too?" Amy asked. Her voice sounded worried. "Yes, I am. I ran the test 3 times. The numbers are real. The moon is shaking from the inside out. That's impossible. The moon is solid rock. It's been dead for billions of years." Lisa looked at her screen again. The shaking was getting stronger. "Amy, I think we need to call Earth Defense Command. Something big is happening." Back on Earth, Commander Jake Peterson was having a normal day at the Defense Command Center. He was drinking coffee and reading reports when his phone rang. The caller ID showed it was from the Lunar Observatory. "Peterson here," he answered. "Commander, this is Dr. Amy Clark from the Lunar Science Division. We have a problem. The moon is experiencing massive seismic activity." Jake almost laughed. "Doc, the moon doesn't have earthquakes. It's a dead rock." "Sir, I know how this sounds, but our best scientist up there is seeing readings that don't make sense. The moon is shaking like something is trying to break out." Jake put down his coffee. Dr. Clark was not the kind of person who made up stories. "What kind of readings?" "The kind that say the moon might not be what we think it is." Jake looked out his window. Even in the daytime, he could see the moon in the sky. It looked the same as always. "I'll send someone to check your equipment. It's probably just a computer problem." But even as he said it, Jake felt uneasy. His job was to protect Earth from threats. What if the threat was coming from the moon itself? 3 hours later, Jake's phone rang again. This time, it was Captain Rick Johnson, his best pilot. "Commander, you need to see this. I'm looking at the moon through our biggest telescope. There are lines appearing on the surface. Dark lines, like cracks." Jake ran to the telescope room. Through the giant lens, he could see the moon's surface. There were indeed dark lines spreading across it. As he watched, the lines grew longer and wider. "My God," Jake whispered, "it's really happening." Back on the Lunar Observatory Station, Lisa watched her instruments go crazy. The shaking was so strong now that tools were falling off tables. She called Amy again. "Amy, I need to evacuate the station. The moon is coming apart." "Lisa, hang on. We're sending ships to get you." Lisa looked out the window again. This time she gasped. The surface of the moon was splitting open. She could see deep cracks running for miles. And from inside those cracks, something was glowing. "Amy, you need to see this. The moon is hollow. There's something inside it." On Earth, people began to notice the moon looked different. The cracks were now visible without telescopes. News reporters started talking about it. Scientists around the world called each other, trying to understand what was happening. Jake Peterson stood in his command center, watching news reports from around the world. The moon was breaking apart, and no one knew why. His job was to protect Earth, but how do you protect a planet when its own moon is falling apart? "Sir," one of his officers said, "we're getting reports that the cracks are spreading faster. Some pieces of the moon's surface are floating away." Jake watched the news feed. The moon looked like a broken egg. Pieces of the surface were drifting away into space. And underneath, Something metallic was showing through. "That's not rock," Jake said. "That's metal. The moon is made of metal." Dr. Lisa Martinez watched from her station as the moon continued to crack open. The glow from inside was getting brighter. She could see shapes now. Long, dark shapes that looked like ... ships. "This is impossible," she said to herself, but she was looking right at it. The moon was not a moon at all. It was a shell, hiding something enormous inside. She called Amy one more time. "Amy, I know. This sounds crazy, but I think the moon is artificial. I think it's been hiding something for a very long time." Amy's voice was quiet. "Lisa, we're all seeing it now. The whole world is watching. The moon is opening up like a flower. And inside there are ships. Millions of them." Lisa stared out at the sight. The moon was revealing its secret. For billions of years, it had looked like a normal moon. But now, as the surface fell away, she could see the truth. The moon was a hiding place. And whatever had been hidden inside was waking up. Jake Peterson watched the news with growing amazement and fear. The moon was not what humanity had thought. It was something else entirely. Something that had been watching Earth for a very long time. The question now was simple. What did it want? Captain Rick Johnson flew his ship toward the moon with a team of 6 other people. His heart was beating fast. 3 days ago, the moon had been normal. Now it was split open like a broken shell, and inside were things that looked like spaceships. "Liberty. Team, this is Captain Johnson. We are 10 minutes away from the moon. Everyone ready?" Dr. Amy Clark sat behind him, looking at her instruments. She was the smartest person Rick knew when it came to old things and alien technology. If anyone could figure out what they were looking at, it was her. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from inside the moon. Whatever is in there, it's been powered down for a long time. But it's starting to wake up." Rick looked through his ship's window. The moon was amazing and terrifying. The outer shell was floating away in pieces, showing the metal structure underneath. Inside the metal shell, he could see ships. Thousands of them. Maybe millions. "Amy, those ships, they look human." Amy checked her scanner. "You're right. The design is familiar. But the technology is far beyond what we have. These ships are old, Rick. Very old." Back on Earth, Commander Jake Peterson watched the live video feed from Rick's ship. The whole world was watching. Every TV channel, every computer screen, every phone was showing the same thing. The moon was not a moon. It was a parking garage for the biggest space fleet anyone had ever seen. "Sir," one of his officers said, "we're getting signals from the moon. Radio waves, but not like any we've heard before." Jake put on his headphones. The signal was strange. It sounded almost like music, but with a pattern that seemed to be trying to communicate. "Can we understand it?" "Not yet, sir. But it's getting stronger. Whatever is sending it is powering up." Dr. Lisa Martinez had been moved to a rescue ship, but she asked to stay near the moon. She wanted to see what happened next. Through her new ship's window, she watched Captain Johnson's team get closer to the moon's interior. "This is incredible," she said to her rescue team. "The moon has been hollow this whole time. It's been hiding this fleet for..." "How long?" Her computer beeped. She had been running calculations on the metal she could see. The results made her sit down hard. The metal is billions of years old. This fleet has been here since before humans learned to make fire. Captain Rick Johnson guided his ship into the moon's interior. It was like flying into a vast cave filled with spaceships. The ships were arranged in perfect rows, stretching as far as he could see. Each ship was different, but they all had the yawl. Same basic design. They looked human, but more advanced than anything humans had ever built. Amy, are you getting this? Dr. Amy Clark was recording everything. Rick, I count at least 1,000,000 ships in our view. And this is just one section. The energy readings suggest there are many more sections. As they flew deeper, lights began to turn on. The ships were waking up. Rick felt a chill run down his back. What if these ships were not friendly? Captain, one of his team members said, I'm getting communication signals. Someone is trying to talk to us. Rick turned on his radio. A voice came through, speaking perfect English. Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Atlas. I have been waiting for you for a very long time. Rick and his team looked at each other. The voice sounded human, but there was something strange about it. It was too perfect, too calm. Atlas, this is Captain Rick Johnson of Earth Defense. Who are you? What is this place? Captain Johnson, this is humanity's greatest secret. I am the guardian of your people's true heritage. You have questions? I have answers. But first, you must understand something important. You are not the first humans to live on Earth. Amy Clark leaned forward. What do you mean? Dr. Clark, your people believe you evolved on Earth. This is true, but not complete. Humans have lived on Earth before. Many times. This fleet belongs to them. It belongs to you. Rick felt dizzy. Are you saying humans lived on Earth before? Modern humans? Not just on Earth, Captain. Humans once lived on thousands of worlds. You were the most successful species in the galaxy. But something happened. Something that forced your ancestors to hide this fleet and start over. On Earth, Jake Peterson was listening to the conversation. The whole world was listening. Every government, every scientist, every person with a radio was hearing the same impossible story. Sir, one of his officers said, if this is true, it changes everything. We're not alone in the universe. We never were. Jake nodded. And if humans once controlled the galaxy, what happened to them? Why did they have to hide? Back inside the moon, Atlas continued to speak. Your ancestors faced an enemy they could not defeat. Rather than let humanity be destroyed completely, they hid their greatest ships here. They made Earth look like a simple world with simple people. They waited for the right time to reveal the truth. Amy asked the question everyone was thinking. What was the enemy? Other species in the galaxy. They feared human expansion. They feared human technology. They formed an alliance to destroy humanity. Your ancestors chose to hide rather than fight a war that would destroy the galaxy. Rick looked at the ships around him. Each one was massive, built for long space travel. Atlas, how many ships are here? 1 billion ships, Captain. Each one can carry 1,000 people. Each one has weapons that can destroy planets. This is humanity's true military might. Lisa Martinez, listening from her rescue ship, felt her heart racing. 1 billion ships? That's enough to conquer the entire galaxy. Atlas seemed to hear her. Dr. Martinez, your ancestors could have conquered the galaxy. Instead, they chose to hide. They chose to let humanity grow and learn. They hoped that when the time came to reveal this fleet, humans would be wise enough to use it properly. Jake Peterson spoke into his radio. Atlas, is that time now? Are you saying it's time for humanity to reclaim the galaxy? Commander Peterson, that choice is yours to make. The fleet is waking up. The ships are powering up. Your people's enemies in the galaxy know this is happening. They are afraid. Some are already preparing to attack Earth. Rick felt a chill. Attack Earth? When? Soon, Captain. Your people must decide quickly. Will you use this fleet to protect Earth? Or will you try to hide again? Amy looked at her instruments. The energy readings were going crazy. Ships all around them were powering up. Lights were coming on. The fleet was waking up after billions of years of sleep. Rick, she said quietly, I don't think we have a choice. If other species are planning to attack Earth, we need these ships? Rick nodded. But he wondered if humanity was ready for this kind of power. Could they handle controlling 1 billion warships? Could they avoid becoming the kind of people their ancestors had been? Atlas, he said. What happened to our ancestors? The ones who built this fleet? They died, Captain. They lived on Earth for millions of years, but they never revealed their technology. They chose to live simple lives rather than risk starting another galactic war. The weight of this knowledge hit Rick like a punch. Humanity's ancestors had given up an entire galactic empire to keep the peace. Now their descendants had to choose whether to reclaim that empire or let it stay hidden. But with enemies coming, did they really have a choice? Major Steve Williams led his team deeper into the moon's interior. They had been exploring for 2 days now, and each hour brought new discoveries. The fleet was enormous. Every tunnel led to more ships. Every chamber held thousands of vessels, waiting in perfect rows. Williams to command, he spoke into his radio. We've found the central control room. It's the size of a city. Commander Jake Peterson's voice came back from Earth. What do you see, Major? Steve looked around the vast chamber. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps. In the center was a platform with a single chair. And standing next to the chair was a figure that looked human, but moved too smoothly to be real. Double quote, sir. I think I'm looking at Atlas. He's not human. He's some kind of machine. A robot. Atlas turned toward Steve's team. His face looked human, but his eyes glowed with blue light. Major Williams, please do not be afraid. I am indeed artificial, but I was created by humans. I am here to serve humanity. Dr. Amy Clark stepped forward. She had been studying the technology for days, and her mind was full of questions. Atlas, you said humans once controlled the galaxy. Show us proof. Atlas waved his hand, and the screens around the room came to life. They showed images of space battles, human colonies on distant worlds, and massive cities floating in space. This is the galaxy as it was 50,000 years ago. Humans lived on 10,000 worlds. Human ships traveled between the stars as easily as your cars traveled between cities. Steve watched the images with wonder. Humans in space suits that looked like armor. Human ships that were miles long. Human cities that held millions of people. What happened to them? Steve asked. They grew too powerful too quickly. Other species became afraid. The Kef Alliance was formed to stop human expansion. More images appeared on the screens. Alien ships attacking human colonies. Battles that destroyed entire star systems. Billions of humans dying as their worlds burned. The war lasted for 500 years, Atlas continued. Humanity was winning, but the cost was terrible. Entire species were going extinct. The galaxy was being destroyed. Dr. Lisa Martinez had joined the team in the control room. She looked at the images and felt sick. So the humans stopped fighting? Your ancestors made a choice, Dr. Martinez. They could continue the war and destroy the galaxy, or they could disappear. They chose to disappear. Atlas showed them new images. Humans abandoning their colonies. The great fleet being hidden inside the moon. Earth being changed to look like a simple world with simple people. They used their technology to make Earth look primitive. They hid their cities underground. They made themselves forget their own history. For 50,000 years, humanity has been hiding. Amy looked at the star maps on the walls. But other species knew we were here. They've been watching Earth. Yes, some species have been waiting for humanity to reveal itself again. Others have been hoping you would stay hidden forever. Steve felt a chill. And now that the fleet is awake, they know we're back. Atlas nodded. The energy signature of these ships powering up can be detected across the galaxy. Every species with space travel knows that humanity has returned. Jake Peterson's voice came over the radio. Atlas, how many of these other species are there? Thousands, Commander. The galaxy is full of life. Most species are peaceful. But the Keth Alliance still exists. They still fear humanity. They are already mobilizing their fleets. Steve looked at the billion ships visible through the control room's windows. Are we strong enough to fight them? Major Williams, this fleet is more powerful than all other galactic forces combined. Your ancestors built these ships to be the ultimate weapons. But power without wisdom is dangerous. Amy studied the star maps. Atlas, what do you think we should do? Dr. Clark, that is not my decision to make. I am a guardian, not a ruler. I can provide information, but humanity must choose its own path. Lisa walked to one of the screens showing a star map. How long do we have before the Keth Alliance arrives? Based on their current movements, 6 months, maybe less. Steve felt the weight of the decision. 6 months to decide whether to become a galactic empire again or try to hide. Major, hiding is no longer possible. The fleet is active. The galaxy knows humanity is back. The only question is how you will use this power. Jake's voice came over the radio again. Atlas, can we communicate with these other species? Try to make peace? Some will listen, Commander. Others will not. The Keth Alliance has spent 50,000 years preparing for humanity's return. They will not be easily convinced to stop. Amy looked at the images of the old war. Atlas, why did humans become so aggressive before? What made them conquer so? Many worlds? Your ancestors were explorers, Dr. Clark. They wanted to see new worlds, meet new species. But they were also protective. When other species attacked human colonies, humans fought back. The war escalated until it consumed the galaxy. Steve thought about this. So we started as explorers and became conquerors. Not conquerors, Major. Defenders. But the line between defense and conquest can be thin when you have overwhelming power. Lisa looked at the ships around them. Each one was a weapon that could destroy planets. Atlas, what would happen if we used these ships to attack? The Keth Alliance first? Dr. Martinez, with this fleet, you could destroy every member of the Keth Alliance in a matter of weeks. You could conquer the entire galaxy in a year. The room fell silent. The power was incredible, but so was the responsibility. Amy broke the silence. But that would make us the same as our ancestors. We would become the thing that other species fear. Dr. Clark, your ancestors were not evil. They were protecting their people. But they learned that having the power to destroy everything does not mean you should use it. Steve looked at Atlas. What do you think we should do? Major Williams, I think humanity has learned much in 50,000 years. Your people have learned to work together. You have learned to solve problems without destroying everything. Perhaps you can succeed where your ancestors could not. Jake's voice came over the radio. Atlas, we need time to think about this. Can you keep the fleet ready, but not aggressive? Commander Peterson, the fleet will obey humanity's commands. But remember, time is short. The Keth Alliance is already moving. They will not wait for you to decide. Amy looked at the star maps. Again, Atlas, are there any species that might help us? Any that are not part of the Keth Alliance? Many species, Dr. Clark. Most of the galaxy is not part of the Alliance. They are simply afraid of both sides. If humanity could prove it seeks peace, not conquest, many would become allies. Lisa nodded. So we need to show them we're different from our ancestors. But how do we do that? Steve asked, when we're sitting in the middle of 1 billion warships. Atlas looked at them with his glowing eyes. That, Major, is the question your entire species must answer. How do you prove you seek peace when you Hold the power to destroy everything? The weight of the decision pressed down on everyone in the room. Humanity had 6 months to decide how to use the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. The wrong choice could start another war that would destroy everything. The right choice could bring peace to the galaxy. But first, they had to figure out what the right choice was. President Helen Carter sat in the White House Situation Room, looking at reports from around the world. Every country on Earth was dealing with the same problem. The moon had revealed humanity's biggest secret, and now they had to decide what to do about it. Madam President, her military advisor said, we're getting reports of alien ships moving toward our solar system. The Keth Alliance is mobilizing. Helen looked at the star map on the wall. Red dots showed enemy ships getting closer to Earth. How many ships? At least 50,000, ma'am. Maybe more. Helen felt the weight of the decision. She was the President of the United States, but this was bigger than any one country. This was about the survival of humanity. What about the other world leaders? Are they ready to work together? Yes, ma'am. Everyone understands that this is not about individual countries anymore. This is about the human race. Meanwhile, inside the moon, Dr. Amy Clark was working with Atlas to understand the ancient technology. She had been studying the ships for weeks, and what she learned amazed and worried her. Atlas, these ships are incredible. The technology is thousands of years ahead of what we have. But I'm also seeing weapon systems that could destroy entire star systems. Atlas nodded. Your ancestors built these ships during the war. They were designed to fight enemies across the galaxy. The weapons are extensive. Amy looked at the data on her screen. Atlas, if we use these weapons, we could easily destroy the Keth Alliance. But we could also destroy innocent worlds by accident. Dr. Clark, that is exactly what your ancestors worried about. The power to destroy everything is not the same as the wisdom to use it properly. Captain Rick Johnson was leading test flights of the ancient ships. He had been amazed to discover that the ships seemed to respond to human thoughts. Flying them was as natural as walking. Atlas, why are these ships so easy for us to control? Captain Johnson, your ancestors designed them for humans. The ships read your genetic patterns, your brain waves, your intentions. They are part of you. Rick flew his test ship around the moon's interior. The ship moved like it was reading his mind. This is incredible, but also terrifying. If these ships respond to our emotions, what happens when someone gets angry? That is a concern, Captain. Your ancestors learned to control their emotions before flying these ships. Modern humans will need to learn the same discipline. Back on Earth, Commander Jake Peterson was coordinating with military leaders around the world. Reports were coming in from telescopes and satellites. The Keth Alliance was definitely approaching. Sir, one of his officers said, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the approaching alien fleet. They're not hiding their approach. They want us to know they're coming. Jake looked at the data. How long until they arrive? At their current speed, 3 months, maybe less. Jake felt time running out. Humanity had to make a choice soon. Use the ancient fleet to fight, or try to find another way. Dr. Lisa Martinez was working with scientists around the world to understand what their ancestors had known. She had been studying the historical records that Atlas had shown them. Atlas, I've been looking at the records of the old war. It seems like humans and aliens were both making mistakes. Is that right? Dr. Martinez, the war started because of misunderstandings. Humans wanted to explore and settle new worlds. Some alien species saw this as invasion. Both sides reacted with fear instead of trying to communicate. Lisa nodded. So the war could have been prevented if both sides had tried to understand each other. Perhaps, Dr. Martinez, But once the fighting started, it became difficult to stop. Fear and anger took over. Major Steve Williams was training with other military officers to understand the ancient weapons. What he learned made him uncomfortable. Atlas, these weapons are too powerful. One ship could destroy a planet. A small fleet could destroy a star system. This is too much power for anyone to have. Major Williams, your ancestors thought the same thing. That is why they hid the fleet. They realized that having such power was dangerous. Steve looked at the other officers training with him. But if we don't use these weapons, the Cath Alliance will destroy Earth. That is the dilemma, Major. How do you protect your people without becoming the thing you fear? President Helen Carter was having video conferences with world leaders. The Chinese president, the Russian president, the European Union leaders, everyone was trying to figure out the right answer. We have 3 options, Helen said to the group. We can use the ancient fleet to attack the Cath Alliance first. We can wait for them to attack us and then fight back. Or we can try to negotiate. The Chinese president spoke first. If we attack first, we become the aggressors. But if we wait, they might destroy Earth before we can respond. The Russian president nodded. And if we try to negotiate, they might see it as weakness and attack anyway. Helen looked at the faces on her screen. What does Atlas recommend? Atlas says the choice must be ours. He won't tell us what to do. Meanwhile, Amy Clark was making a disturbing discovery. She had been studying the alien species that were part of the Cath Alliance. Atlas, I've been looking at the records of the Alliance members. Some of these species are actually peaceful. They joined the Alliance because they were afraid of human expansion. Dr. Clark, that is correct. Many Alliance members are not aggressive by nature. They joined because they believed it was the only way to protect their worlds. Amy felt anew. Understanding. So they're not evil. They're just scared. Fear, Dr. Clark, is often the root of conflict. Your ancestors learned this too late. Rick Johnson was flying patrol missions around Earth's solar system. He had been amazed to discover that the ancient ships could travel faster than light. A journey that would take months with current technology took only hours in the ancient ships. Atlas, with ships this fast, we could reach the Cath Alliance before they reach us. Captain Johnson, that is true. But speed alone does not solve the problem. What would you do when you reach them? Rick thought about this. I don't know. Try to talk to them, I guess. And if they refused to listen? Rick didn't have an answer. The ancient ships were incredibly powerful, but power alone couldn't solve every problem. Jake Peterson was getting reports from intelligence agencies around the world. They were trying to understand the alien species that were approaching Earth. Sir, one of his officers said, we've identified the main species in the Cath Alliance. The Cath themselves are militaristic, but many of their allies seem to be more defensive-minded. Jake looked at the files. So maybe we can split them up. Maybe. Some of them can be convinced to leave the Alliance. That's possible, sir. But we would need to communicate with them first. Helen Carter was facing the biggest decision in human history. Use the ancient fleet to fight, or try to find a peaceful solution. Either choice could save humanity or destroy it. Atlas, she said during a video call to the moon. What would you do if you were human? Atlas looked at her with his glowing eyes. Madam President, I am not human. I do not have human emotions or human hopes. But I can tell you what your ancestors would do. What? They would try to find a third option. They would look for a way to protect humanity without starting another galactic war. Helen nodded. And if there is no third option? Then, Madam President, humanity will have to choose between survival and principle. And that choice will define what kind of species you become. The weight of the decision pressed down on everyone. Humanity had the power to conquer the galaxy, but did they have the wisdom to use it properly? The approaching alien fleet would force them to find out. Admiral Jake Peterson stood on the command deck of the flagship Unity, one of the ancient ships that had been hidden in the moon. 3 weeks ago, he had been a commander protecting Earth. Now he was leading humanity's return to the stars. Admiral, his communications officer said, "We're receiving a message from the Keth Alliance fleet. They're demanding that we surrender the ancient ships." Jake looked at the view screen. The Keth Alliance fleet was massive, 50,000 ships arranged in battle formation. But humanity's fleet was bigger, much bigger. "Open a channel," Jake ordered. The screen showed an alien face that looked like a mixture of insect and reptile. The creature's voice was translated by the ship's computer. "Humans of Earth, I am Admiral Kethvar of the Alliance. You have awakened weapons that should have stayed hidden. Surrender these ships and return to your world, or we will destroy you." Jake took a deep breath. "Admiral Kethvar, I am Admiral Jake Peterson of the human fleet. We don't want to fight you. We want to talk." The alien's eyes grew wider. "There is nothing to discuss. Your ancestors nearly destroyed the galaxy. We will not let that happen again. But we are not our ancestors. We've learned from their mistakes. Have you? Then why do you have 1 billion warships?" Jake paused. It was a good question. "Because you're threatening to destroy our world. We're defending ourselves. By preparing to conquer the galaxy?" Dr. Amy Clark was monitoring the conversation from the science station. She had been studying the Keth Alliance for weeks, trying to understand their fears. "Admiral," she said quietly, "ask him about the peaceful species in his alliance. Ask him if they all want to fight." Jake nodded. "Admiral Kethvar, we know that many species in your alliance are peaceful. Do they all want this war?" The alien's expression changed slightly. "All alliance members agreed to stop human expansion. But do they want to fight a war that could destroy millions of worlds?" There was a long pause. Finally, Kethvar spoke again. Some have expressed concerns about the cost of war." Meanwhile, President Helen Carter was in the White House, coordinating with world leaders. The entire planet was watching the confrontation in space. "Madam President," her military advisor said, "Admiral Peterson is trying to negotiate, but the alien fleet is still in attack position." Helen looked at the real-time video feed from space. The two fleets faced each other like ancient armies before a battle. "What about the other alien species? Are any of them willing to talk? We're picking up communications between the alien ships. It sounds like some of them are arguing about whether to attack." Dr. Lisa Martinez was aboard another human ship, studying the alien communications. She had been working with Atlas to understand the different species in the Keth Alliance. "Atlas, I'm seeing disagreement in the alien fleet. Some of them want to attack immediately. Others want to negotiate." Atlas appeared on her screen. "Dr. Martinez, that is not surprising. The alliance was formed out of fear, not hatred. Many species joined because they felt they had no choice. Can we contact the species that want to negotiate? Perhaps, but it would be risky. The Keth themselves would see it as an attempt to divide their alliance." Lisa thought about this. "Maybe that's exactly what we need to do." Back on the command deck of the Unity, Jake was still talking to Admiral Kethvar. The conversation was tense, but at least they were talking. "Admiral," Jake said, "what if we could prove that humans have changed? What if we could show you that we're not the same as our ancestors?" "How?" Kethvar asked. "Give us a chance to prove it. Let us help solve a problem that doesn't involve fighting." Captain Rick Johnson was piloting a scout ship near the edge of the confrontation. His sensors had detected something interesting. "Admiral Peterson, I'm picking up a distress signal. There's a ship in trouble about a light year from here. It's not part of either fleet." Jake looked at the sensor data. "Can you identify the ship?" It appears to be a civilian vessel from the Fen species. They're one of the neutral species, not part of our confrontation. Amy Clark looked up from her station. Admiral, this could be our chance. If we help a neutral species, we show that we're not just conquerors. Jake made a decision. Rick, take a small fleet and help that ship. Use only our fastest ships, no weapons. Admiral Kethvar was listening to the human communications. What are you doing? There's a ship in distress, Jake replied. We're going to help them. This could be a trick. You can monitor our ships. You'll see that we're only sending rescue vessels. Rick Johnson led a small group of human ships toward the distress signal. When they arrived, they found a Fen cargo ship that had suffered engine failure. The ship was drifting in space, and its crew was in danger. Fen vessel, this is Captain Johnson of the human fleet. We're here to help. The Fen captain sounded surprised. Humans? We heard you had returned to the galaxy. Are you here to conquer us? No, Rick said. We're here to rescue you. For the next 6 hours, human and Fen engineers worked together to repair the damaged ship. The entire galaxy watched through news broadcasts as humans used their advanced technology not to destroy, but to save lives. Admiral Kethvar watched the rescue operation with growing confusion. This is not what we expected from humans. Jake Peterson smiled slightly. Admiral, this is what humans really are. We explore, we help, we protect. We only fight when we have to. Dr. Amy Clark was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Admiral, we're getting messages from dozens of species. They're all talking about the rescue. Many are saying that maybe humans have changed. Lisa Martinez was working with Atlas to contact individual species in the Keth Alliance. Atlas, I'm getting responses from 7 different species. They're all asking if humans would be willing to meet with them separately. Dr. Martinez, that is a significant development. If enough Alliance members leave, the Keth will have to reconsider their position. Jake opened a new communication channel. Admiral Kethvar, we've proven that we're not here to conquer. We're here to coexist. Will you give peace a chance? The alien admiral was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Some of my allies are saying that you have indeed changed, but the Keth remember the old wars. We cannot forget what your ancestors did. We're not asking you to forget, Jake said. We're asking you to judge us by our actions, not our ancestors' actions. Amy Clark had an idea. Admiral, what if we offered to limit our fleet? What if we promised to use only a small number of ships for exploration and defense? Jake thought about this. Admiral Kethvar, we're prepared to make an offer. We will put most of our fleet back into storage. We will use only enough ships to defend Earth and to help other species when they need it. And if we refuse? Jake's voice became serious. Then we will defend ourselves. But we would rather be your allies than your enemies. President Helen Carter was watching the negotiations from Earth. Admiral Peterson, the whole world is behind you. Do whatever you think is right. Over the next several hours, individual species began breaking away from the Keth Alliance. First the Fen, grateful for the rescue of their ship. Then the Morvac, who had always been uncomfortable with military action. One by one, peaceful species decided to trust humanity. Admiral Kethvar found himself with fewer and fewer allies. You are dividing my alliance. No, Jake said. We're giving each species the freedom to choose for themselves. That's what we believe in. Dr. Lisa Martinez was coordinating with the species that wanted to talk. Admiral, we now have formal requests for diplomatic meetings from 43 species. They want to establish peaceful relations with humanity. Atlas appeared on Jake's screen. Admiral Peterson, you have achieved something remarkable. You have shown the galaxy that humans can choose wisdom over power. Jake looked at the view screen showing the Keth fleet. Many ships had already left to return to their home worlds. Admiral Kethvar, your alliance is dissolving. Your people are choosing peace over war. Will you join them? The alien admiral was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. Tired. Perhaps we have been wrong about humans. The rescue of the Fen ship was not the action of conquerors. No, Jake said. It was the action of people who care about life. 3 days later, the confrontation was over. The Kef alliance had disbanded, replaced by individual treaties between species. Humanity had proven that they could choose cooperation over conquest. Jake Peterson stood on the observation deck of the Unity, looking out at Earth. The planet looked peaceful and beautiful. Most of the ancient fleet was returning to storage. In the moon, but a small number of ships would remain active for exploration and emergency response. Dr. Amy Clark joined him at the window. Admiral, we did it. We avoided another galactic war. Yes, Jake said, but the hard work is just beginning. Now we have to prove every day that we deserve the trust the galaxy has given us. Lisa Martinez was already planning humanity's first diplomatic missions to other worlds. Atlas, what do you think our ancestors would say about what we've accomplished? Atlas smiled, something Jake had never seen the artificial being do before. Dr. Martinez, I think they would be proud. You have succeeded where they failed. You have shown that power and wisdom can coexist. Rick Johnson was preparing for humanity's first official exploration mission to another star system. The ship was equipped with the latest technology, Boo.